Disclaimer: it's inspired by reality, shaped by imagination.
What happens when one of America's sharpest Southern storytellers sits across from daytime TV's most unfiltered critic? You get a studio moment nobody forgets. On a new episode of The View, the room shifted. The second comedian, Leanne Morgan, settled into her chair. She came in ready to talk about honesty and entertainment, laughing as she joked about how even her own kids think reality shows are faker than margarine. But the mood tightened fast when Joy Behar fired back with her usual straight shot. People don't actually want the truth. They want entertainment. Reality TV is edited for a reason. Leanne didn't blink. She leaned in, voice steady but full of that Tennessee steel, and said, "Entertainment's fine, sugar, but lying to folks is a whole different story." Joy raised an eyebrow, insisting that raw footage would ruin the magic and that producers know better than the audience. The crowd reacted to every beat, laughs, gasps, and a few uneasy murmurs. While the other hosts tried to keep the peace, before long, it became clear this wasn't just about TV editing. It was about trust, transparency, and whether viewers deserve the real story instead of a polished version. What happened next turned into one of the show's most charged exchanges, the kind that keeps clips trending for days. The studio lights warmed the air with that familiar early morning glow, the kind that made everything feel a little softer, a little calmer before things inevitably heated up. The View's audience settled into their seats, buzzing with the usual excitement, unaware that today's show would slide from friendly chatter into something sharper. On stage, mugs clinked, papers shuffled, and the co-hosts shared light jokes while the floor crew finalized their cues. Leanne Morgan walked out with the kind of natural charm that filled the room before she even spoke. She waved like she was greeting old friends at the grocery store, her smile easy, her steps relaxed. She wore a soft blue sweater, gold earrings, catching the light every time she turned her head. Even Joy smirked a little and said, "Well, look who finally made it to the grown-up table." Leanne laughed and squeezed Joy's hand. "Honey, you know I only show up places that offer coffee and snacks. Y'all treat me right," the audience chuckled. For a moment, everything felt warm, almost homey. Whoopi leaned back in her chair and said, "All right, ladies, let's get settled before Leanne eats all the pastries backstage." More laughter. Leanne played along, lowering her voice. "Well, I did put one in my purse for later. Don't judge me." Sunny leaned forward, smiling. "Leanne, you always bring this energy. We're glad you're here." "I'm glad to be here," Leanne said, folding her hands on the table. "It's good to be somewhere. I can talk without people asking me to make a casserole." Even Joy cracked up at that. The segment opened with chatter about Leanne's tour, her new comedy special, and how she still calls her grown children my babies. She delivered a few easy jokes, the kind that made the crowd warm to her instantly. Joy jumped in with a sarcastic, "Please tell me your kids don't call you twice a day for advice." And Leanne shot back, "Joy, they call me twice an hour, sometimes just to ask where the ketchup is. It's a gift and a curse." It was smooth, relaxed, almost deceptively pleasant. Then Whoopi shifted her card to the next topic. "All right, let's talk about this. Leanne, you've been vocal lately about something happening in TV right now. You said audiences deserve the truth, especially from reality shows." Leanne nodded, brushing a loose curl behind her ear. "I did. And I mean it. Folks tune into these shows thinking they're seeing real people go through real things. But so much of it is edited, staged, manipulated. I don't like people being misled. If we're going to call it reality, it ought to be real." She kept her voice light at first, almost playful. The audience hummed with attention. Joy made a small, approving noise, but it didn't sound supportive, more like she was gearing up. "Leanne, honey," she said, "people know it's fake. They don't care. They just want something fun to watch." Leanne smiled, still gentle. "Do they know? My Aunt Charlotte sure doesn't. She watches that show about the rich girls in Beverly Hills like it's a documentary." The crowd laughed, and for a moment, Joy did too. Sunny asked, "So what are you suggesting?" "I just think producers should show the real footage," Leanne replied. "Or at least be honest about what's staged. People deserve the truth." Joy leaned back, arms crossed, eyebrows raised. She didn't jump yet, but the tension flickered like a spark that hadn't landed on anything dry, yet Whoopi kept things steady, steering it back to neutral ground. "Let's dig into that. Right now we're seeing more people question what's real in entertainment." Leanne nodded again, still calm. "Right. And I don't want to sound dramatic, but I think trust matters. And when you sell something as real, but it's actually orchestrated, that's not trust." Joy tapped her mug lightly, a sure sign she was thinking of a comeback. But for now, she held back, letting the lighter mood stay intact. The audience sensed something under the surface, though, a shift in the air. Leanne remained warm and friendly, but her point wasn't going anywhere. And Joy? She was just beginning to lean into the edge of the conversation, ready to challenge the idea that honesty mattered more than entertainment. For the moment, it stayed friendly, but just barely. The calm began to slip the moment Joy leaned forward, both elbows on the table, her expression sharpening the way it always did right before she challenged a guest. The audience felt it and straightened in their seats. A few people even exchanged looks, sensing the shift. Joy started slowly. Leanne, I hear what you're saying, but let's be honest. Reality shows aren't documentaries. They're entertainment products. They're edited because real life is boring. The room gave a scattered laugh, but Leanne didn't take the bait. She smiled, but it was a firm smile, the kind she used when her kids tried to talk their way out of chores. Joy, real life isn't boring. Maybe your life is. Mine's a circus. That earned a bigger laugh even from Whoopi. Joy smirked, but her eyes flashed. Sunny jumped in, trying to balance things. Leanne, you think the editing crosses a line? I don't think it, Leanne said. I know it. They splice together sentences, rearrange events, cut out context. They make people look crazier or meaner than they really are. And then we sit at home judging them like we know the full story. Joy lifted a hand. That's the nature of TV. Everything is edited. Even this show is edited. No. Sugar, Leanne replied, her voice easy but firm. This show delays a sneeze. That's not the same as taking a whole argument and twisting it. The audience hummed. Some nodded. Some murmured. A few clapped. Joy didn't like losing ground. Her tone sharpened. If viewers cared that much about honesty, those shows wouldn't be topping the ratings. People like drama. People like messiness. Real footage would be unwatchable. Leanne tilted her head. So we're okay with lying to people because it's more fun? The first real gasp of the episode came from the crowd. A wave of chatter followed, soft but tense. Joy's jaw tightened. It's not lying. It's storytelling. Sunny tried again to soften it. There's a line, though. Most viewers assume what they're watching is at least somewhat accurate. Joy waved her hand dismissively. Viewers aren't stupid. They know it's produced. Leanne's eyebrows lifted, calm but pointed. Tell that to the moms on Facebook who think every argument on those shows is spontaneous. She paused. Some people are taking emotional cues from something that isn't even real. Joy let out a laugh that wasn't friendly. Oh, please. It's TV. People should know better. Leanne leaned in a little. And they would if producers were required to be transparent. The audience clapped again, louder this time. Whoopi sensed the temperature rising. Let's keep this civil, she said, though she didn't sound surprised. Joy didn't like being clapped against, and she shot back quicker than before. You're treating this like some moral crisis. It's entertainment. We've had scripted reality since the first camera pointed at a person. Then don't call it reality, Leanne said. Call it something else. Call it kind of reality or reality seasoning. Something honest. That line set the room off. Half the audience laughed, half murmured in surprise. Even a few crew members cracked up off stage. Joy didn't laugh. That's ridiculous. What's ridiculous, Leanne replied softly, is expecting people to trust an industry built on smoke and mirrors. Joy blinked. Oh, give me a break. Joy, Leanne continued, still calm. Some of these shows tear families apart. They change reputations. They fuel online hate, all based on scenes that aren't even true. Joy raised her voice a notch. That's the cost of fame. If you sign up, you know what you're getting into. Leanne nodded slowly. So you're saying people deserve whatever happens to them because a producer wants better ratings? Now the room reacted hard. Gasps, scattered applause, murmurs, shifting seats. Joy pressed her lips together. She knew she couldn't walk that comment back, but she also wasn't backing down. Whoopi adjusted her glasses and tried to ease the pressure. All right, let's breathe. We're not judging the entire entertainment industry today. Joy didn't wait. Leanne is talking like reality TV is some moral compass. It's entertainment, period. People like it messy. Leanne leaned in, voice steady. I'm talking like viewers deserve honesty, period. People like it real. Another wave of applause. Joy stiffened. The warmth from earlier was gone. What remained was a rising heat in the room, a tug of war between two women who saw entertainment and responsibility very differently. And they weren't done yet. The room settled into a heavy quiet, the kind that feels like the air itself knows a storm is brewing. Joy's jaw was tight, her posture stiff, while Leanne sat with her hands folded neatly, like she was trying to hold herself steady. Even the audience seemed to pull back a bit, waiting. Sunny broke the silence. Leanne, you sound really passionate about this. Why does it hit so close to home for you? Leanne exhaled, her shoulders softening. She stared down at the table for a moment before looking back up. Because I've seen what it does to people when the world believes something that isn't real. The audience leaned in. This wasn't a punchline. This wasn't a clever comeback. Her tone had shifted completely. Leanne continued, voice quieter now. Years ago, one of my friends, sweet, soft-spoken woman, went on a small reality show. Local, nothing fancy. They made her look like a villain, cut her sentences, rearranged her reactions, painted her as some jealous, unstable person. She almost lost her job over it. Her marriage went through hell. The room went still. Joy watched her carefully, guarded, but she agreed to be on the show, she said, though her voice lacked its usual confidence. Leanne nodded. She did, but she didn't agree to have her life shredded into something she wasn't. Her voice caught for a split second. And she didn't agree to strangers calling her names online or people in the grocery store whispering when she walked by. A murmur swept through the audience. Not dramatic, just sad. Leanne held her mug with both hands, her fingers trembling slightly. I was there when she broke down. She said, I didn't know they could twist me into someone else. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to help. My friend, when the whole story the world believed was fake. Joy leaned forward, her expression softening a little. She didn't interrupt this time. Leanne went on, and I kept thinking, if a small show could do that, what about the big ones? What about the ones with millions of viewers, entire teams of editors shaping people into caricatures? She shook her head. I just think people deserve the truth. And people on these shows deserve to be seen as real humans, not puppets created in a control room. The crowd applauded gently, the kind of applause that comes from understanding, not excitement. Joy's shoulders dropped a little. Leanne, she said, quieter than before, I get that it was painful. I really do. But that's not every show. Leanne nodded. I know that. I'm not saying every show is evil. I'm saying transparency matters. She paused. I'm saying people should know what's real and what's not. Joy sighed and glanced toward Whoopi, as if asking for help navigating this new emotional territory. Whoopi didn't step in just yet. She kept her eyes on Leanne. That's a powerful story, she said. But do you think requiring 100% raw footage is realistic? These shows are hours long. Most of the raw stuff is boring. Leanne nodded again. I don't mean every second needs to air. I mean the cuts shouldn't lie. The audience reacted with a soft wave of agreement. Joy straightened, recovering a bit of her fire. But Leanne, life isn't fair. The industry isn't fair. You know this. Most people who go on reality TV want attention. They'll take the risk. Leanne's eyes flicked to Joy, and something shifted in her expression. There was hurt there now, hurt, mixed with a firm resolve. Joy, you're assuming everyone understands the risk. She said, they don't. These producers sit them down, promise them a chance to show who they really are, and then twist them into whatever sells. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but stopped. It wasn't an easy point to dismiss. Leanne kept going. People trust what they see on TV. And when the footage is manipulated, it affects real lives, real relationships, real reputations. People lose work, they lose family, they lose themselves. The audience went silent again, listening closely. Joy bit her lip, unsure how to counter something so personal without appearing heartless. I'm not trying to diminish what happened, she said. I'm saying the world's more complicated than that. Leanne gave her a small nod. It is, but honesty isn't. A strong wave of applause swept across the room, louder this time, filling the studio. Joy leaned back, eyes narrowed just enough to show she wasn't letting this go. The emotional moment had softened her for a minute, but now she was gearing up again. The wound had been opened. The vulnerability had hit its peak, and the next round would draw the sharp edge back into the room. The flashpoint had landed, and everyone felt the heat. The emotional weight hung in the studio long enough for everyone to feel it settle in their bones. But tension never stays still for long on The View, especially when Joy Behar feels backed into a corner. She straightened in her chair, her posture stiff, her tone sharpening like someone quietly flipping a switch. Leanne, Joy said, I'm sorry about your friend, truly. But you're talking like the entire industry is out to destroy people. These are grown adults making choices. If you sign up for a reality show, you should expect editing. That's common sense. Leanne blinked, surprised by how quickly Joy had shifted from empathy to dismissal. Joy, I'm not saying people don't make choices. I'm saying they don't know how severe the editing is. Joy gave a short, sharp laugh. Then maybe they should read the contract instead of crying about it later. A loud, immediate gasp tore through the audience. Even Whoopi sat up straighter. Sunny's eyes widened. Leanne's smile dropped completely. The hurt wasn't subtle now. It was clear as day. Joy, Leanne said slowly, that's cruel. Joy shrugged. It's honest. No, Leanne replied, her voice low but steady. It's dismissive. And it's exactly the attitude that lets these producers get away with twisting people into villains. Joy leaned in until she was almost over the table. And what do you want us to do? Babysit every contestant? Hold their hand? This is show business, not Sunday school. The audience buzzed with discomfort. A few people booed under their breath. Leanne sat back, folding her arms, not in defensiveness, but in disbelief. I'm not asking you to babysit. I'm asking for honesty. That's it. Joy's voice rose. You're asking for something that doesn't exist. Reality TV is edited. It's always been edited. And if your friend couldn't handle the heat, Sonny shot Joy a warning look. Joy! But Joy kept going. Then maybe she shouldn't have stepped into the kitchen. The audience erupted, gasps, boos, a few shouts of too far. The temperature in the room spiked. Leanne's face flushed, not with embarrassment, anger, controlled, deliberate anger. Joy, she said quietly, gripping the edge of the table. Don't you dare talk about my friend like she was weak. She trusted people. That's not a flaw. Joy rolled her eyes. Grow up, Leanne. The world isn't kind. Leanne pushed her chair back an inch, just enough to show she was done being polite. And people like you make it meaner. The studio cracked open with applause so loud it felt like a wave. Joy's mouth tightened into a line. She wasn't used to losing ground this quickly. Whoopi finally stepped in. Ladies, let's breathe, but Joy talked right over her. I'm not going to sit here and pretend reality TV is some moral hazard. People love it. It works. If it didn't, viewers would stop watching. Leanne fired back. People can't stop watching if they don't know what's fake. Joy slammed her palm lightly on the table. Everything is fake, Leanne. That's the point. The audience gasped again, louder than before. Someone in the back shouted, not everything! Leanne rose halfway out of her seat, then stopped calling it reality. How hard is that? Joy matched her energy. Because that's the format. Leanne's voice cracked. Not from weakness, but sheer intensity. Formats don't matter more than people. For a full 3 seconds, nobody in the studio moved. Not the hosts, not the crew, not even Joy. Whoopi held her hands up, trying to rein everyone in. All right, let's calm down. But the damage was done. The line had been crossed, the feelings laid bare. The room felt split between shock and awe, nerves and applause. Leanne sank back into her seat, breathing hard. Joy stared at the table, jaw tight, the sting of the moment written across her face. And the audience, they knew they had just watched the episode spiral from tension to explosion, all in real time. The clash had finally hit its breaking point. The applause and murmurs slowly faded, leaving a heavy, reflective silence in the studio. Leanne sat back in her chair, still steady, though the fire in her eyes had softened into something quieter, more deliberate. Joy's arms were crossed, but her usual quick wit and defensive energy had dimmed. Even the audience seemed caught in a rare shared pause, as if they were all holding their breath. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice gentle but pointed. That was intense. But maybe that's exactly what needed to happen. Leanne smiled faintly, still catching her breath. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable, she said. Sometimes honesty feels like conflict, but it's worth it if it makes people think. Joy exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing a little. I won't lie, this hit harder than I expected. I always knew reality TV played fast and loose with the truth, but hearing it from someone who's seen the real human cost, it's different. The audience stirred, some clapping softly, others nodding in agreement. It wasn't the loud cheers of a victory. It was the quiet acknowledgement that something important had been said. Leanne leaned forward, voice calm now but unwavering. I don't want this to be about winning an argument. I want it to be about perspective. People on these shows are human beings, and viewers deserve honesty. That's it. Just a little truth. Joy's expression shifted, a faint smile breaking through. Maybe I got so used to defending entertainment that I forgot the people behind it. You reminded me, Whoopi nodded, eyes scanning the room. And that's the power of a good conversation, even when it gets heated. It doesn't have to end in agreement to make an impact. Backstage, the cameras continued rolling, capturing the crew quietly talking among themselves, inspired by the raw emotion they'd just witnessed. Social media had already exploded. Clips of Leanne's heartfelt stories spreading across feeds, fans debating, sharing, and reflecting. Leanne stood to leave the stage, waving gently to the audience. Thank you, she said softly. Thank you for listening, even for a moment. That's all any of us can ask for. Joy stayed seated, looking at the space Leanne had just occupied. She shook her head slightly, half smile still on her lips. That was real, too real to ignore. The audience rose, giving a standing ovation that wasn't just for Leanne or for the clash. It was for the honesty, the emotion, and the reminder that even in entertainment, reality can matter. And in that quiet aftermath, it was clear the episode hadn't just been a debate about reality TV. It had become a reflection on trust, responsibility, and the human cost of storytelling. If you enjoyed this emotional showdown, subscribe for more dramatic celebrity clashes, heartfelt debates, and moments that make you think twice about what you watch. Drop a comment below. Do you think reality shows should be 100% real, or is a little editing harmless fun?